I'm beginning this with an important disclaimer about why me not giving a fuck would greatly benefit this entire discussion, because there's so many things wrong with this entire joke game that somehow made it more meaningless than whatever the intention was from the original developer. On November 17th, 2015, developer DEADFACTORY and publisher Sekai Project released a shitty video game entitled Yohjo Simulator. It was exclusively developed for PC, which was considerably the only intelligent decision considering the amount of resources, time, and energy wasted on this bullshit. I'm finally discussing this game because it's not actually a game. It's a very mysterious project that's been bothering me since the day of its release, especially considering the amount of controversy that was following it at the time of its release. And I'm not specifically directing my attention towards one of the most glaring elephants in the room. I am, however, discussing the goddamn plot, because this very absurd premise somehow doesn't make fucking sense to me. The major thing about the premise that bothered me is that there's no premise to this game. For some reason, the premise is described being a realistic simulator, but I've never seen or heard about a single fucking schoolgirl who was lost in a giant city surrounded by a bunch of random shit that nobody could explain. The game is subjecting players to create their own premise, which otherwise would be interesting if we were given enough material to experiment with. But that's nowhere to be found in this title. Because somehow the title screen has found a way to immediately annoy the shit out of me. You see a glimpse of what the sandbox is, as well as the main protagonist. But in the background, some moron is playing the flute off-key on fucking repeat. It was fucking annoying to not only hear it played completely incorrectly, but on a fucking loop without any courtesy to play something else or stop. I was waiting for that motherfucker to accidentally swallow that shit and choke on it to death. So then the game would at least have one redeeming quality. But wait, there's something that I discovered before actually pressing start that furthermore proved that they didn't care when I was introduced to the sandbox. If you press the escape button on your keyboard or the select button on your controller, the game immediately stops working. What the fuck? I initially thought that this was a mistake on my part, but then I remembered that there's stupid people making these fucking low-effort games in Unreal Engine without actually programming it properly, which was clearly a sign that I was wasting my goddamn time. If I wanted to exit the game, I would have pressed the fucking X button in the fucking window, or otherwise went to Task Manager, or right-clicked the goddamn application and clicked on Close Application. How fucking lazy do you have to be to not do this? Once this randomized and ridiculous adventure begins, you'll immediately realize that something is deeply wrong. Aside the fact that you're forced to figure everything out at your own expense. About half of the map consists of water. The entire area is filled with water. And what is presumed to be a giant city has areas that are almost entirely inaccessible or intentionally left there unfinished. You're not even given access to an actual map in this game. So I couldn't tell you a damn thing about this mysterious geographical destination. But I'm assuming based on the main protagonist and the fact that this is clearly a Japan video game, that it's somewhere within the depths of its bowels. But after what I've seen and experienced, I still think that even the slums of Japan would still be more attractive than this stupid fucking unfinished, restricted, shitty, amateur hour goddamn sandbox. There's an entire genre dedicated to this shit. But it's been deliberately exploited to the point to where it's not fucking original anymore. And they did it better. The difference between these games is that Yohjo Simulator fails to do anything creative with its insanity. And most notably, nothing to make it less pathetic than the other low-effort games following the same format. The simulator genre isn't new. It's something that's been around for years. But somehow there were so many pretentious people out there who thought they were introducing a newer phase, when all they really did was introduce stupid shit. Ragdoll physics should be an option. It shouldn't be the main focus of your fucking product unless you're capable of doing anything creative with it. I don't care if this is an inside joke. The reality is that there is nothing to be proud about here. There's nothing to be proud about releasing a product that is solely focused on ragdoll physics and forcing players to fuck with random bugs that would otherwise ruin the experience. This is absolute kindergarten level of game development. But personally, I think even a fucking kindergartner could create a better product. Yohjo Simulator having no content is one thing, but to also cost $5 is absolutely fucking ridiculous. The audacity that they had to sell this stupid bullshit at $5 made me immediately hate them. Because if I did have $5 in my Steam account, I would have never given that much money, especially considering that I could have collected more games with that amount instead of this shit. I think it's also interesting that some people aren't seeing the bigger picture here. Just because some people like me didn't have to optionally pay for it, doesn't change the fact that this platform is blatantly exploited. There's people that are deliberately creating these terrible games and fucking with the system and people's finances by selling this shit like this and thinking nobody would notice. And by the time anyone did, it's too late. But I'm also very bothered about the fact that there's developers out there that simply don't care. They know that they're creating this type of garbage and doing it to gratify their malicious intents. Selling a joke game is fine if there's good things that come with it. But if it's just like this that offers nothing to enjoy and only there to be served as abandonware with nothing to offer, there's no reasons for games alike to exist and those developers responsible to get away scot-fucking-free. I think every motherfucker that does this should be accounted for, because it stops being funny and continues being an unresolved crime. It's always been, and it's time that it stopped. The controversy behind this game still remains a mystery, because it doesn't make any fucking sense and could otherwise apply to other fictitious media. In the original version of the game, which was essentially the same shit, there was a part of the map where players could explore and find the seemingly dead corpse of the main protagonist, with a pair of panties lying on the ground. The moment that this was discovered and then reported via social media, it garnered attention from the developers, and they wanted to quickly resolve this by changing the content in the game. I'm not surprised by this, but it doesn't make sense, because if they didn't intend anyone to see it, then they wouldn't have fucking put it in the game, thus allowing anybody to discover it, even if it were meant to be somehow hidden. What I'm about to say may alienate some people, especially the hypersensitive audiences that take things completely out of context. I'm not bothered by this controversy in the same context as the people that initially complained. I know that there's people out there that presume that this entire scenario was implying rape. I know that in the original version of this game, there were male NPCs dancing on top of buildings in their fucking underwear. All of this information combined was supposed to imply that this game was creepy and weird. But regardless if you're capable to accept it or not only is this entirely hypocritical, but a complete waste of controversy. They're more focused on the protagonist wearing an outfit that's very common in Japan than they are about these random assets that are spliced together in this disjointed and unfinished sandbox. They're more concerned about this game allowing you to completely control a third grader who somehow has superpowers, but not given a proper story or purpose to furthermore justify any of it. There were more people complaining about those things than the entire premise being completely absent, as well as the product being a complete false advertisement. I'm more surprised that there's people out there focused on that, aside the game being a complete scam. If you've tolerated other forms of media that could alienate certain hypersensitive audiences that are failing to distinguish reality and fiction, causing them to react in the similar manner to whatever the fuck offended them, don't pretend that this game was different. Talking about this game wouldn't feel complete without discussing Yagi, because the main protagonist of this story isn't your traditional main protagonist, considering that she's missing not only a story, but biography that would give her personality more context. Excluding the small information from the premise, there's still not enough information about this character. Players are forced to interpret this information based on how they're controlling her and the environment that she's surrounded in. DEADFACTORY wants me to completely observe this schoolgirl because they think that she's so damn interesting that I wouldn't question anything that she does in this game. But there are certain things that are impossible to ignore. If I was walking down the street and saw a schoolgirl from afar, I would still be concerned if I saw a goddamn fire and boxes piled everywhere with strange people standing on fucking rooftops and doing other weird shit in the street. Even I would become more concerned about my own safety, because then I would believe that we'd have to protect each other. I don't know where the fuck her parents are, but they should be putting out a missing sign for this girl. This girl is completely isolated without any parental guidance. This doesn't seem like the safest situation for her. The second thing about this girl that bothers me is that she's somehow overpowered. This is something that follows the missing story that would have made more sense if they explained this earlier. I would have at least given DEADFACTORY a bit more credit if they thoroughly explained these specific abilities that she somehow gained. Because Yagi has certain abilities in this game that are borderline superhuman. The first ability that Yagi has that's immediately impossible to ignore is her being capable to headbutt every person and thing across the map. But it's never given a full explanation to how or why. Even if this ability were explained, you're never using it for any worthwhile purpose. It would have been more helpful if players could have done more with it in the stage. But there's no fucking tricks or strategy here. It's just giving her a significantly overpowered attribute that never has any genuine purpose. The second ability that Yagi has that confused the fuck out of me is the fact that she could emulate the entire Naruto run. Why in the fuck is this third grader capable of outrunning anybody in the damn Olympics? But most importantly, Who in the fuck is she running away from? And if by any chance that were to happen, there's hardly any places for her to fucking hide. Also, I'm not saying that the original creators of Naruto deserve royalties for this, but I think that if they saw this, they would probably question why the fuck they chose this run instead of a normal stance. Like really, holy shit, even Steven Seagal could run more convincing than this. Yagi's third ability is actually very interesting, because aside the fact it immediately made me think of Spider-Man as well as any other media involving ninjas, it's an ability that's slightly useful, but not entirely reaching its full potential. She has the ability to somehow jump on walls, emulating the style of parkour, as well as embodying the spirit of Jackie Chan. You know, at least before all the fucking injuries and shit. But the reason why this is an issue, however, is because the physics are fucking horrible. Isaac Newton's laws of physics are entirely sabotaged. And the only enjoyment that comes out of using this ability is discovering just how much of the map goes completely unused, and furthermore is proven meaningless. These distinguishable abilities are very interesting. It's like being thrown into a giant playground surrounded by vast recreational equipment. But unfortunately, they're inappropriately misguided in this product. As the player, I don't think that it's logical to be forced to describe how the game is supposed to advance without any resources to do so. About half of the map is fucking blocked off or completely unfinished, thus completely defeating the fucking purpose while having all of these fucking bugs. I don't understand what type of game I'm playing. You're not giving me anything to fucking work with. I don't care if she could do these things. At least with source material, it would give it more fucking credibility. But without proper coherent storytelling and more background to this character, this doesn't mean shit! This is like playing VR missions in Metal Gear Solid, but with Snake being forced to roam through an endless fucking simulation without any goals. This is like playing Resident Evil and being forced to kill endless hordes of zombies without any worthwhile rewards. This is like playing Final Fantasy, but without closure. If there's no continuation or resolution, then why should I fucking care? Listen, goddammit. I understand the point of joke games. I have a sense of humor. Therefore, I have the right to dictate if Yohjo Simulator was funny. But I'm not going to stop there. Not only would I tell you if this game had humor, but style, substance, identity, integrity, or anything else to make it stand out. Not only is this bullshit not funny, this is an empty non sequitur disguised as a video game. An inside sick joke that should have never existed outside the realm of somebody's fucking brain. It's an insult to comedy, my intelligence, and the remainder of Japan with people who are actually talented and otherwise could have made a better fucking game. Whoever the fuck worked on this game has nothing to be proud of. This is nothing to be proud of, and I hope you're fucking satisfied that you not only duped many people out of $5 fucking, but have completely lost the trust and respect from me, along with any other unfortunate and impressionable individuals who were completely manipulated by the misleading advertisements. Japanese or not, there's no excuse to sell a product like this. And if you do this because you don't care, then fuck you. I hope you and your bullshit is investigated, you're prosecuted, and all of the money that you stole is fucking refunded. Every single fucking dollar and cent. I could have paid 50 cents to get my dick sucked for 50 fucking seconds and still would have been more satisfied than I never would have been paying $5 for this worthless piece of shit. But until next time, if I ever manage to find something that'll actually give me satisfaction, this was the Venturous Gamer, and I hope you've enjoyed your Venturous experience. It wasn't worth $5 or half a fucking blowjob.